What's going on, everyone? It's Matt Deegs here with another video. Appreciate you guys for dropping by as always. So with the recent announcement on the last community update from Focus Entertainment, we were told that we'll be getting a Carcharodons skin DLC in Space Marine 2. And I wanted to take the time to do a deep dive into one of the most feared and mysterious Loyalist Space Marine chapters in all of Warhammer 40k. Alright guys, so in today's video, we're going to go over and break down who the Carcharodons are, where they come from, how they fight, and the terrifying figure who leads them, Tyberos the Red Wake. Guys, if this is something you're interested in, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below if you've heard of this chapter before and what you think of them. Okay guys, with that being said, let's get into it. Okay, so let's begin with who are the Carcharodons. They are also called as the space sharks as well, so we're going to use those two terms interchangeably. Okay, guys? So the Carcharodons, formerly known as Carcharodons Astra, are a Loyalist Space Marine chapter, but they exist on the fringes of what the Imperium considers quote-unquote normal. They do not rule a home world, they do not maintain alliances, and they do not appear unless something has gone terribly wrong. The Carcharodons are fleet-based void hunters, roaming the outer darkness of Imperial space. They emerge without warning, destroy their targets with brutal efficiency, and vanish back into the void as if they were never there. This isolation has shaped everything about them, from their culture to their beliefs to the kind of warriors they produce. So visually, the Carcharodons look nothing like noble defenders. Their armor is a flat, weathered, dark gray, deliberately stripped of decoration. Their chapter markings are simple and brutal, okay? Unhelmeted, they are unsettling to look at. Ashy skin, cold eyes, and expressions that feel more predatory than human. Many Imperial forces who have fought alongside them describe the appearance as deeply uncomfortable. And that's exactly the point, guys. The Carcharodons aren't meant to inspire hope, inspire, pride. They're meant to be feared. So let's go into how the Carcharodons wage war. So, that fear that I just spoke about, that fear becomes very real the moment they engage in actual combat. The Carcharodons specialize in shock assaults, void warfare, and close quarters slaughter. They excel at boarding actions, ambushes, and sudden decapitation strikes that leave the enemy no time to react. Very similar to a shark, okay? They hit hard, they hit fast, and when the fighting ends, there's nothing left to fight. This predatory style of warfare only deepens the mystery surrounding their origins. But let's get into the origins, okay? The origins are lost to history. The Imperium doesn't know exactly where the Carcharodons came from, and that's not an accident. Their founding is unrecorded, their early history is fragmented, and their gene seed lineage is deliberately obscured. The most commonly, accepted theory is that they descend from the Raven Guard, supported by genetic markers and shared terminology. However, the Carcharodons themselves never have confirmed this, so we truly don't know. And honestly, they do not care who their ancestors were or are, only that the hunt continues. So to kind of go into something that's very important to this chapter, they have something called the Day of Exile. So central to the Carcharodons' belief is an event known as the Day of Exile. So I'm going to go over this a little bit, okay? So according to their oral history, their ancestors were cast out from the Imperium and ordered into the outer void to hunt threats beyond the edge of space. They speak of a figure called the Forgotten One, who issued this command and then vanished from history, okay? Whether this was a Primarch, a Legion Master, or something else entirely unknown, we actually don't know, okay? What matters is that the Carcharodons obeyed this order and have never stopped obeying, okay? So they are scary, they represent sharks, they're brutal, but at the end of the day, they are still a Loyalist chapter, okay? You have to keep that in mind. Their life is as eternal nomads. Because of this exile, the Carcharodons live entirely aboard massive war fleets, following a nomad predatory pattern. Their ships are ancient and heavily scarred, drifting through regions of space most Imperial forces never see, okay? They appear without warning, prosecute their war, and disappear again into the darkness without a trace, okay? Too many Imperial commanders, the Carcharodons feel less like allies and more like a controlled disaster, unleashed only when absolutely necessary. And when they do appear, they are often led by something far worse than the chapter itself. Tyberos the Red Wake. Guys, this being is a living apex predator. So at the heart of the Carcharodons stands Tyberos the Red Wake, their current Shade Lord and one of the most terrifying Loyalist Space Marines in existence. Now, Space Marines are much bigger than normal human beings, but Tyberos is enormous. He's not a Primarch, he is still a Space Marine, but even by Space Marine standards, guys, he is massive. Descriptions of him constantly note that his unnatural size and mass, enhanced further by his ancient, heavily modified tactical dreadnought armor, is immense. When he moves, the ground shakes. When he fights, entire enemy formations collapse, okay? He wields custom-built chain fist and lightning claw weapons, scaled specifically for his massive frame. Tools designed not for elegance, but for total annihilation. But what truly makes Tyberos terrifying isn't just his strength, it's his silence. Tyberos does not boast. He does not issue grand speeches. He does not explain himself. He advances and everything in his path dies. During what's called the Badab War, Tyberos led the Carcharodons with such a brutality that even other Loyalist chapters were unsettled by his methods. His presence alone was enough to break enemy morale, and once he entered the fighting, resistance collapsed rapidly. Among the Carcharodons, Tyberos is not worshipped. He was accepted as inevitable, much like death itself, okay? But let's get into what the Badab War actually was and the lore behind that. So the Badab War, if I'm saying that right, the Badab War, remains the most well-documented example of Carcharodons in action. So they arrived unannounced, struck with overwhelming force, and played a decisive role in dismantling the renegade factions. Their methods were efficient, ruthless, and completely devoid of ceremony. When the war ended, they took recruits through brutal survival trials and departed immediately, leaving devastation behind and answers unspoken, okay? With that being said, I want to go into a little bit of like the Carcharodons' beliefs and their brutal recruitment style, okay? The Carcharodons worship the Emperor as Rangu, the Void Father, a figure tied to exile, endurance, and endless war. Their recruitment methods reflect this worldview. Through red tithes, they seize potential aspirants from Imperial worlds and subject them to trials where survival alone determines worth. Compassion has no place with the Carcharodons. Only strength earns survival, okay? Now, why do the Carcharodons and Tyberos the Red Wake matter to the Imperium and the overarching 40k universe? So the Carcharodons represent the Imperium at its most uncomfortable, but they are loyal, but barely civilized. They are protectors, but terrifying ones. And Tyberos the Red Wake is the embodiment of that truth. A living weapon unleashed when diplomacy, honor, and mercy have already failed. Now, guys, I have no clue how kind of circling back to what this whole video was made for, we did get an announcement that we will be getting some DLC skins specifically made for the Carcharodons chapter. I have no clue how that's going to look, but I'm very excited. I think this chapter is one of the best chapters in the lore. I absolutely love the mysteriousness about them. I love Tyberos the Red Wake, putting fear in Space Marines' hearts. Like, I love that whole aspect of this chapter. And I love that they're still loyal, right? Because I want chaos to be, I want them to fear the Space Marines. I feel like they don't fear the Ultramarines, the Imperial Fists, the Blood Ravens, the Blood Angels. They look at them as meat for the slaughter. But when the Carcaradons come, they question that ideology, and they start questioning, damn, we're about to be annihilated here. So I really like that aspect of the Carcharodons. I like that they bring fear to the enemy's hearts, okay? And I love that they're still loyal to the Imperium and the Emperor as a whole, okay? So the Carcharodons were never meant to be seen. They were meant to hunt in the dark, far from Imperial eyes. And at their head walks Tyberos the Red Wake. Guys, this guy is a being less like a commander and more like an approaching extinction event. So as Space Marine 2 brings the Carcharodons into the spotlight, remember this, okay? When you play with this chapter, when you play with these Carcharodons, the Space Sharks, if the Space Sharks have arrived, it means something out there was too dangerous to be left alive. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you've got up to this, section of the video, thank you so much. Please leave a like, please subscribe. If you want to support the channel a little further, consider becoming a channel member. Guys, I make build videos for Space Marine 2. I will be making build videos and, videos all together for all types of Warhammer 40k games. I'm very excited for Total War Warhammer 40k. That should be coming out in the next year or two. And guys, if you're into Warhammer 40k as a whole, I do all types of videos, lore, breakdowns, etc. Guys, it is not needed. It's not a prerequisite. Don't feel pressured. If you want to support the channel further, become a member. If not, simply sitting back, enjoying the video, liking, subscribing if you want is more than enough for me. All right, guys? Don't forget to drop in on a live stream. Say hi. Don't be shy. And I always play with viewers if you're interested. I love squatting up with viewers. You guys are the best, all right? With that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.